There's some promising news for anyone keeping an eye on the housing market right now. We just saw the average rate for a standard 30-year fixed mortgage go down again this week. It slipped from over 6.2% last week down to about 6.19%. That might sound like a small change, but it actually brings us very close to the lowest rate we have seen all year. It's also the second week in a row that rates have dropped, which is a nice break after seeing them go up for weeks before that. If you're thinking about a shorter long term, the news is good there too. The average rate for a 15-year mortgage, which is a popular choice for people looking to refinance, also came down. It's now sitting at around 5.44%. So to give you some perspective, that is quite a bit lower than where they were a year ago when rates were closer to 6%. These changes can make a real difference in monthly payments and overall affordability for buyers. You might be wondering what is driving these changes. So, mortgage rates are complicated and depend on a lot of things like decisions by the Federal Reserve and how investors feel about the economy. Generally, mortgage rates follow the path of the 10-year Treasury yield. Right now, even though that yield ticked up slightly, mortgage rates still manage to find some room to ease. This helps give homebuyers a little more purchasing power, which is always welcome. We are seeing that these better rates are already helping the market. Lower rates earlier this fall actually helped boost home sales in October. However, we know that affordability is still a big hurdle for many people because prices have risen so much over the last few years. There is also some uncertainty about the economy and jobs that's keeping some buyers on the sidelines for now. Looking ahead, everyone is watching the Federal Reserve. They're expected to meet next week, and the general feeling is that they might cut their main interest rate again. It's important to remember that the Fed does not set mortgage rates directly. Even if they cut their rates, it does not guarantee that the home loan rates will drop right away. But overall, seeing rates trend downward, it's definitely a step in the right direction for buyers and homeowners alike. Now I wanted to give you a quick update on what is actually going on with the housing market lately. If you've been watching the news or just looking at listings, you might have noticed that things feel a lot different than they did a few years ago. The big headline right now is that sellers across the country are pulling back, and that's mostly because buyer demand has slowed down significantly. We are seeing some really clear signs of this shift. For one, sellers are cutting their prices more often than we have seen in a long time. When homes sit on the market without moving, sellers are dropping the price by an average of about $25,000 to try and attract a buyer. Even more telling is that a lot of sellers are just taking their homes off the market entirely. In fact, we are seeing the highest rate of homes being delisted since 2017. Basically, if sellers can't get the price they want, they're deciding to just wait it out rather than sell low. You might be wondering why this is happening. It really comes down to two main problems. First, homes are still very expensive for the average person. Even though mortgage rates have come down a little bit from the highs we saw earlier in this year, they are still high enough to make monthly payments tough for many families. Second, people are getting worried about the job market. When you aren't sure if your job is secure or if you'll get a raise, you're much less likely to take on a massive new mortgage. Experts had hoped that lower interest rates would spark a buying frenzy, but that rebound just hasn't happened yet. The market is feeling pretty sluggish. To make matters a bit more complicated, builders aren't constructing enough new single-family homes to help bring prices down, with the construction expected to drop this year. So between the high costs, the lack of new inventory, and the general economic anxiety, both buyers and sellers are stuck in a bit of a waiting game right now. I know the housing market has felt like a roller coaster lately, intense competition, rising cost, and just generally stressful. But I wanted to share some good news about the upcoming year according to the latest forecasts. It looks like 2026 is finally going to feel like a welcome step back towards something closer to normal. The big takeaway is that we are moving into a more balanced market. This doesn't mean prices are suddenly dropping everywhere, but the frantic pace of the last few years is easing up. Conditions are expected to get a little better for buyers, not because of some dramatic crash, but thanks to a slow, steady improvement on several fronts. The biggest factor here is the money side of things. Analysts predict the average 30-year mortgage rate will settle around 6.3%. While that's certainly higher than the rates we saw a few years ago, it's a relief compared to the higher rates we dealt with in 2025. When you combine that slight drop in borrowing costs with people's incomes continuing to rise, buying a house actually starts to feel a bit more achievable. For the first time in several years, the typical monthly payment for a median-priced home is expected to fall just below that crucial 30% of income affordability threshold. That small shift is a meaningful financial break for many households. Now, let's talk about home prices and selection. Prices are still expected to creep up, but only by a modest 2.2%. Here is the key detail. Because inflation is predicted to be higher than that, the real cost of housing is actually going down for the second year in a row. That offers what the experts call breathing room for buyers. At the same time, we are seeing more and more homes for sale hitting the market. Inventory is expected to grow significantly, meaning buyers will have more choices than they've had in a long time. This is what officially pushes the market into balanced territory, where neither the buyer nor the seller has total control. Even with these improvements, sales of existing homes are only projected to rise slightly. This is largely because of something we call the lock-in effect. Right now, the vast majority of current homeowners who have a mortgage are sitting on super low rates, often under 6%. They have very little incentive to sell and trade that a low rate for a new, higher one unless they absolutely have to move for a life change. This continues to keep the overall turnover of homes subdued, even as buying conditions improve. Finally, there is good news if you're renting too. Rents across the country are expected to decline slightly, especially in the South and West, thanks to all the new apartment construction that has been happening. So, whether you're looking to rent or buy, the trend is moving in the right direction. Slower price growth, more options, and slightly easier payments. It's not an immediate fix, but it's a solid step toward a healthier, more manageable market for everyone. As a real estate agent, I'm happy to break down what's happening in the luxury housing market. Forget the complex reports. Let's talk about this like we are grabbing coffee and chatting about the headlines. So the big picture is that the national luxury housing market is showing a whole lot of steady confidence. Based on what we saw in October, things are really balanced. It's not a frenzied, overheated market, but it's definitely not weak or slowing down either. It's sitting right in that sweet spot where things feel reliable and sustainable as we move toward the new year. We actually saw sales go up, both compared to the month before and compared to the previous year. That includes both the traditional single-family homes and the attached properties like luxury condos and townhomes. This shows that the demand is still strong across the board. The important thing, though, is the inventory, the number of available homes, is gradually increasing too. This is great news for buyers because it gives them more options and breathing room when making a decision. Despite having more choices, pricing is holding firm. Homes are generally still selling for about 98% of their listing price, which tells you that sellers aren't slashing prices and buyers are comfortable with the valuations. It's a stable environment where everyone can feel pretty good about the transaction. When you look specifically at the big detached luxury homes, sales climbed nearly 10% compared to last year, and inventory expanded nicely to support that activity. Prices remained essentially flat, which is the definition of stability. No wild swings up or down. Now, for the attached market, like the high-end condos, we've had solid sales gains for 2 months straight. We think part of this activity is due to slightly easing interest rates, which brought more buyers into the lower end of that luxury price range. If you see a headline saying the median price for those dropped, don't panic. It's likely just because more of those lower priced luxury units sold, shifting the average down, not because the homes are losing value. The underlying demand remains solid. At the end of the day, all the drivers, from buyer confidence to lifestyle desires and the controlled supply, are pointing to a healthy, predictable, and stable market in the luxury sector as we wrap up late 2025. It's an encouraging trend for both buyers and sellers. As your agent, I want to assure you that deciding to sell your home during the holidays is actually a smart move, not a crazy one. I know it feels like everyone is too busy with family and planning parties, but the buyers who are looking this time of year are usually serious and incredibly motivated. They aren't just casual browsers. They genuinely need to find a house. Plus, with fewer homes typically on the market, your property has a better chance of standing out. So, let's talk through a few simple strategies to make this a successful and low stress experience. The first thing we need to tackle is the holiday decor. I know how much you love your setup, but when selling, we need to treat the decorations like a beautiful, subtle backdrop. The goal is to avoid anything that could overwhelm the space or distract a potential buyer. We should aim for simple and tasteful touches. Think classic white lights, a fresh wreath, or a modest centerpiece. Nothing too bold or cluttered. If a Christmas tree is a must-have, let's make sure it fits the room without making the space feel cramped. We want buyers to focus on the size and features of your home, not your collection of ornaments. During the cooler months, buyers really appreciate a home that feels like a cozy escape. We want them to walk in and immediately feel warm and welcome. This is where small details make a massive impact. Drape a few soft throw blankets over a chair. Turn on your fireplace if you have one, and make sure your interior lighting is set to a warm, inviting glow instead of a harsh overhead light. A subtle comforting scent like vanilla, pine, or cinnamon from a lightly scented candle or a simmer pot can also create an instant emotional connection. These touches help a buyer picture themselves relaxing and celebrating in the home, which is what we need to spark that "this is the one" feeling. Since the days are shorter, exterior lighting becomes critical for safety and curb appeal. So make sure the walkway, porch, and entryway are all bright and clear. We need to clear any leaves or debris and check carefully for any cords or decorations that could be a tripping hazard. A tidy front porch with a simple, seasonal wreath will go a long way in making a strong first impression, even when buyers are arriving after dark. Now let's talk logistics. The holidays are busy and we'll work together to set up realistic showing windows that minimize disruption to your schedule. You definitely don't want to open your home at all hours. Serious buyers will be happy to work around our plan. To help keep foot traffic down when you're busy, we can lean on modern tools like virtual tours and 3D walkthroughs. This allows people to see the home in detail without needing to physically walk through it until they're truly interested. And most importantly, we have to price your home strategically. While inventory is often lower, buyers are still highly aware of the market. We look at the current local data and price it right from the start to attract motivated buyers immediately. Remember, we are selling more than just property. We are offering them the possibility of creating their own wonderful new memories and traditions in that space. Let's help them fall in love with that possibility. As a real estate agent, I see the difference between what people dream about and what they can actually buy every day. I recently looked over a great survey that really sums up the current mindset of buyers, and I wanted to break it down for you simply. So, when it comes to the ideal house, Americans are dreaming big. If money were no object, the typical buyer wants a brand new, single story ranch home that is large, usually over 2,000 square feet. They are looking for plenty of space outside, often a half acre or more, with scenic views of the countryside or a lake. They also want lots of bedrooms and bathrooms, usually at least three of each. That's the picture of perfection most people have in their heads. But here is the most important takeaway. More than the size of the house, the style, or the interior finishes, buyers say the location or neighborhood is the most essential factor. 70% of people would rather have a house that is less than ideal if it means living in the perfect location. I always tell my clients that you can remodel a kitchen, but you cannot change your address. As one agent wisely said, a bad location can truly ruin your comfort and happiness, regardless of how beautiful the house is inside. When we look closer at preferred locations, the countryside is the number one choice, followed by being right on the water, like a beach or a lakefront. Beyond that, people are very clear on a few non-negotiables. Almost everyone wants to live in a low crime area, and easy access to hospitals and medical facilities is extremely important to nearly all buyers. Buyers are also strongly preferring homes that are move-in ready right now. With a high initial cost of buying, most people want to avoid the financial stress and time commitment of a major renovation project. However, a location can also be a significant deal breaker. Even if the house checks every other box, people will walk away if it's in an area prone to floods or wildfires, or if it's too close to things like train tracks, a major highway, or a non-desirable site such as a prison or a chemical plant. Other things that make people instantly say no include high property taxes, costly insurance rates, and for 1 in 5 people dealing with a homeowners association. So, what does this mean for the market overall? For those selling, properties that are updated and situated in a great neighborhood will almost always be more desirable and sell faster. For builders, we're going to keep seeing high demand in suburban and semi-rural areas, which offer more space and safety without the cost premium of living right in the city. Ultimately, while rising prices mean most people cannot buy the huge custom home they dream of, the real dream is often simply finding the right neighborhood and a house that functionally accommodates their life. Hey, I just saw some really interesting data come out about what homeowners and buyers are going to be focusing on for home design in 2026. If you're thinking about upgrading your place or even getting ready to sell, these are the big trends you should know about. People are really starting to rethink how their homes actually work for them, especially since so many folks are staying in their current houses longer. One of the biggest shifts is all about making our houses smarter in a seamless way. We're moving beyond simple smart speakers. People now want technology that's actually built into the home structure. Think about things like hidden charging stations so you don't have cords everywhere. smart lighting that adjusts automatically, and connected appliances that make life easier. The pros who work on these projects agree that these kinds of thoughtful, built-in tech upgrades are becoming a major selling point and can significantly boost your home's resale value down the line. Another key focus is blurring the line between the indoors and the outdoors. It's all about creating harmony with nature. Buyers are loving things like sunrooms, big screened in patios, or even dedicated indoor garden spaces. The overall design palette is moving toward more natural, organic colors and materials. It's a clear trend. People want their homes to feel bright, airy, and connected to the natural world around them, making everyday living feel much calmer. But perhaps the most important trend, especially from a real estate perspective, is that demand for flexible layouts. With people's lives constantly changing, they need homes that can adapt. We are seeing huge interest in things like in-law suites or those separate small living spaces called ADUs or accessory dwelling units, often built over a garage or in a backyard. These spaces are fantastic because they offer so much flexibility. They can house an aging parent, provide a dedicated home office, or even generate rental income. That adaptability is becoming essential for long-term home value. And let's not forget the kitchen. It's always been the heart of the home, but in 2026, it's definitely taking center stage. Experts predict kitchen remodels will be the number one renovation project. The focus is on multifunctionality. People want layouts that work for cooking, entertaining, and even homework. This usually involves integrating smart appliances and using high quality finishes to make the space durable and beautiful. People are willing to spend more on a kitchen that truly works hard for them. Finally, there is a growing movement toward heritage and circular design. This sounds complicated, but it just means people are choosing to fix up what they already own instead of constantly replacing things. Things like reupholstering a quality piece of furniture or restoring a vintage fixture are becoming popular. It's a move toward sustainability and having a home with unique character and history. Ultimately, all these trends point to one thing: homeowners are designing and investing smarter, focusing on purposeful upgrades that enhance their day life and secure long term value. So, whether you're a first time home buyer or looking to sell your Florida property, remember this: the right information and a clear plan are your biggest assets. My goal with this channel is to empower you with that knowledge. I'm Albert Stepnick, a realtor with Coldwell Banker here in beautiful South Florida. And when you're ready to take the next step, I'm here to help you navigate it all, from the initial consultation to the closing table. To make things easy, I've linked my direct contact information and the link to schedule a quick free consultation right in the description box below this video. Click on that link now, let's connect, and let's get you set up with a personalized plan for success in the South Florida market. I look forward to hearing from you. If you have any questions about today's topics or your unique situation, drop a comment below or send me a message. I'm here to serve as your local real estate resource. Thanks for watching, and I look forward to connecting with you soon.